All right, so welcome everybody to this evening's Camberley Chess Club online Zoom meeting. This evening we have the pleasure of Colin Purdon, our friend from Crowthorne and Camberley Chess Clubs. And tonight's subject is the short session, an insight into Nigel Short and his games. So let me hand over to Colin.
Thank you very much, Martin. Yes, as stated, do a session on Nigel Short. Why Nigel Short? I've no real reason, but why not do a session on him? I have always thought he's been possibly underpraised in the British chess community, considering what a great player he is. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe everybody praises him appropriately. But anyway, it's fairly rare to see something dedicated to him, so here's my effort to even that up. So who is Nigel Short? Obviously an English chess player. So I made a few notes here, I'll just refer to those occasionally. Born in 1965, so he's 56 years old now. That is, his peak rating was 2,712. In the early 2000s, if I recall, when it was probably equivalent to a near 2,800 rating now. And his peak ranking in the world was 3. He was a top 10 player for a while, and indeed he did reach a number 3 ranking, which certainly puts him amongst the elite players of the game. He gained the IM title at the age of 15, which I think Wikipedia says was the youngest ever. At the time. It's been broken several times since then, which surprised me somewhat. I'm not entirely sure if that's true, but obviously it's still pretty young to become an international master by, well, pretty well any standards. And he gained the Grandmaster title, the full Grandmaster title, age 19, and if my calculations are correct, was the 6th English over the player to be awarded the over-the-board Grandmaster title. He was British champion 3 times, and he was English champion once, apparently. Apparently, there was a single event called the English Championship, which was won by Nigel Short. Again, something else I didn't know before reading up on him, really. He was a great tournament player. Well, I say he was. He hasn't totally retired from the game, but he's not playing anywhere near as much as he used to. And I think by his own admission, he kind of plays for fun nowadays. So you don't see him play that many tournaments really nowadays. He's still got a 2600 plus rating, so he's still pretty good. If you meet him, I think you still see him at 4 NCL events and team events like that. So probably quite a tough opponent to face. He played a lot of tournaments, obviously. He had a large number of successes. In Amsterdam 1991, for example, he came first equal with Salov, ahead of Kasparov, Karpov and Korchnoi, which is no mean achievement to do that in the early 90s or indeed any other time. He is also the first British player to play in the candidate cycle, to get into the last 8 of the challenges, in other words, and play some form of tournament or knockout to face the world champion. And indeed, he won his candidate cycle. He beat Karpov 6-4 in a 10-game match, which I think is an incredible achievement. That was in 1992, when Karpov was still a top player, probably one of the top 2 in the world, and then Nigel Short beat him 6-4. And he went on to beat Timin in the final of the same cycle, and then he went on to play Kasparov, where he lost quite heavily. It was, I think, the second heaviest defeat in a World Championship match behind the second Botvinnik-Tal match. I do recall reading somewhere that it was roughly to grade though. And it should also be said that in some of those games, he did actually have his chances. There were a number of games he was better, didn't really prosecute his advantage. And a couple of games which he lost were, well, obviously, any game you lose, you could have drawn it, you could have saved it at some stage in the game. But it's probably fair to say, if you just played a little bit better, then the result wouldn't have been so one-sided. But having said that, not much doubt that Kasparov was the better of the two players in those days, or probably at any time. That's pretty much it. All I've got to say about his chess biography. As a player, he tends to play complicated positions, I would say. In the openings, he was a great champion of the French defence. I think he kind of stopped wheeling it out against the really elite players, but he kept on playing it throughout his career, perhaps due to being more judicious about his opponents. As a French defence player myself, that was always nice to see him make his openings. His other openings, he would also, as black, play e5 in response to one e4, play the black side of Rye Lopez typically. Happy to do that, and throwing in a few Sicilians along the way. As white, predominantly a 1e4 player, preferred the open games, but he did play the occasional d4 and the even more occasional English opening. And I'd say his style tends to be very well prepared, very tactical and analytical. That's probably true of almost all players nowadays, but Short more so than others. And he produced quite a lot of nice attacking games. So that's all about him. Perhaps we can move to his games. I'll just share the screen. What I'd like to do is show a couple of 2 or 3 games, depending how much time we've got, interspersed by 1 or 2 tactical problems, if that's okay. So I'll start with a couple of tactics, which I'm sure you'll all find very easy.
You have to share screen.
I know. I'm just wondering why isn't the screen I want to be shared being shared? That's a question that only I can answer. So here we go. Oh no, that's right. So here we go. I'll start off with a relatively easy one. If you do see the answer, please don't shout it out. Give everybody a chance to
shout it out.
To shout it out after a few seconds. Okay, here we go. So share. Aha, there it is, hiding in the share screen option. All right, can you see that, chaps?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, jolly good. Okay, so Nigel Short, Joel Benjamin. Oh, played in 2020. Good heavens. White to play and win. So, as I say, give it a few seconds and then feel free to shout out your answer. I'll get to display everybody. So, hands up who can see the answer.
Rook takes f6.
Rook takes f6 looks quite strong. And if bishop takes rook?
Queen h8.
Queen h8 looks very strong. Okay, very good. That's just a warm up. Don't worry, it does.
What about queen f6?
Sorry?
What about queen takes f6?
What, move 1?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good question. Okay, well, rook takes queen check. Bishop takes queen h6 check. At least you're picking up the rook, yeah?
Okay. Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so probably not a false mate. Yeah,
Are you sure about this game? I don't remember them playing recently.
No game. Seen that before.
I picked it up probably from Lie Chess. So unless it's lying because it's Lie Chess, it must be true.
They were both. Why I'm saying this is they were both prodigies at the same time, And there's a photograph of Nigel in his bedroom as a boy with a picture of Joel Benjamin on his wall.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Extremely disturbing.
They did, absolutely. They did become sort of soulmates in that regard. But I can't think Joel Benjamin has come to this country for ages.
I know it says London. Could it be an internet game? I don't know. 2020.
Well, I'm sure all sorts of options are available.
Yeah.
And the truth is, I don't know.
Yeah. No. Likewise, I can't say. I just found it and thought it was suitable. Okay. Next. What's next then? Okay. Yeah. Here, Shorts. This is from 2019. Shorts playing a guy called Ramesh Avinash, who I think is rated about 2450. So not at Shorts level, but no duffer. So again, please, give it 10 or 20 seconds. White to play and win.
Oh.
Yeah, got it.
Okay.
Pass it on. Tony Williams has got it.
Mm.
Tim's nodding, I think. Yeah. Okay, Tim, what would you play?
Well, I may be wrong, but I don't see an easy defence to e4.
Okay. I think that's a strong move, but there is more direct way.
There is.
Yeah, I was going to suggest
How
rook
about that?
e6.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Sorry, Tony, I didn't catch that.
I was going to suggest rook e6
Okay. Well, I'll take that then.
and queen d5.
Queen d5. Take that then.
And bishop
Oh, I
c4.
see it now, yeah.
Oh, bishop c4. Oh.
Bishop c4, mate. Yeah, very nice.
That's good.
Yeah. Rather boringly, the actual game went. He just retreated the knight, and it was a bit boring. But yeah, no, that was a nice mate. Okay, good. What's next?
That first game, Colin, was from 1976.
Oh, was it? Okay, thank you.
I thought so.
It was from the telephone match.
Oh, it said TX, didn't it?
It was
That
the
must be
telex
telex.
match. I was there. I was there when they played.
And you didn't remember the position?
What am I like? I don't think that last one you showed either was a Nigel Short game. I think that's wrong too. Sorry.
I didn't go to the source material. I have to admit to.
James, it's unwise to criticise the speaker when you're a future speaker.
Yeah, indeed, I am
I
plotting
did
my
just
revenge
apologise,
already.
actually. I did actually.
Who was the opponent on that second game, Colin?
That was Ramesh Avinash, according to somebody. I thought it was
That old player.
unless it's a different end short.
Okay, so no, that was Nigel Short as white
Yeah.
Yes,
versus
championship.
Ramesh Avinash,
Yeah.
who had a rating of 1834.
Oh, really?
Come on.
Okay.
It was played on the 6th of April 2019.
It could have been his son, Nicholas Short.
No, it was Nigel. It was played in the Bangkok Open.
Oh, no,
Okay.
that's possible. Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. A bit of a mismatch then, but a nice finish nonetheless.
One night in Bangkok.
Okay, this game I hope is authentic.
Colin,
Yeah.
before you start, can I just jump in and say something?
Mhm.
His opponent, Steve Hooker.
Oh,
I
you
used to
know
know.
him?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Another ex-Portsmouth player. And
I
actually
knew
played
Hooker.
Steve. Yeah, I actually sort of played and beat Steve in 1976
Okay.
in a sort of local tournament, and
The year after
played
this
him several
game.
many times in club games. So
Oh, okay. So how old is he?
he's a couple of years younger than me. So
You would-
So
He'd be
I'm trying to work
about,
out-
he'd be about 63 now.
yeah, I'm 63. I'm just trying to work out how old I was in 1975. So I would have been 17. So
Okay.
Steve would have been 15, 16 years old.
Right,
So he would have been
okay.
older than Nigel.
And Nigel would have been 10 years old in 75.
Yeah.
Yes.
So this is a game by the 10-year-old Nigel Shaw.
Oh dear.
I think it's quite a well-known game, actually. But it wasn't known to me, but I have found quite a few references to it all over the web and YouTube and so on.
It's from
Anyway,
the
I'll go for it fairly quickly.
It's from the Enfield Open.
It is indeed. Yeah, 75. So Nigel's black and he's playing the French winner, being a fine player. And we go down the main line. All very standard so far. White grabs the pawn. Hitting c3, defending c3, defending the pawn. Principal Chess Club email. Let's just close Outlook. Let's focus, defending the e-pawn. Pawn takes pawn, knight takes pawn. So both knight takes pawn and queen takes pawn, amongst one or two other moves, but are a very main line here. But the knight takes pawn and queen takes pawn are the two main lines. So stopping knight b5. This is totally standard theory as of now. Bishop e3 is probably not a good move. It looks fairly natural, but it's basically going to get hit fairly soon by a knight on f5. In this position, he should probably have played rook b1 or possibly bishop d2, something like that. Maybe even h3 to prepare g4, to sort of be typical white plans.
Colin, I'm just looking in this book here,
Oh yeah.
and this is game 14, and it's annotated by his father, David Short.
Oh, okay.
No, it isn't. It's annotated by George Botterill.
And it says 14 rook b1.
Rook
The
b1. Yeah.
The author of books, his father, anyway.
Yes, please don't think I can't win, can I? I'm sorry, the notes are by George Botterill.
Yeah. Anyway, so, yeah.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see perhaps his comments later. So bishop e3 was played, rook c8, pressure down the c file. So now when the knight on c6 moves,
It says here,
e3 is hanging.
it says here, Colin, after rook c8, there's a threat of knight e5.
Yeah.
And the alternative is d4.
Yeah, d4 looks very natural. That d4 is often a pawn sacrifice played in the French Minois.
D4,
more of which later.
d4, bishop takes, knight takes, queen takes, knight f5 also deserves serious consideration.
Yes.
Yeah, followed by rook c8, and you're going to come down the d file, or possibly even followed by queenside casting, who knows. Yeah, this looks like a fine position in the French defence. You're only 2 pawns down, and you've got a lot of compensation. So anyway, Nigel just played perhaps more calmly, perhaps more sensibly, I don't know, with rook c8. White got his knight out of the way, knight f5, and White kind of admits that bishop e3 was a mistake and retreats to d2. Knight e7, good move, opening up the d file, and also opening up the diagonal for his bishop. So White moves back, and Black plays d4, which is double-edged and probably not best. If he played a move like if he'd played queen c5, it's quite hard for White to develop properly, really. His bishop can't really move because the g pawn drops. If his knight moves, you can at least take the c pawn, might have something better. If you move the rook to the b file, then you might be able to do it, but the a pawn's dropping, even though you might get b7. So, but anyway, d4 was played, weakening the well, giving white the knight e4 square, maybe knight d6 is a possibility. Knight d5, hitting all of the black squares in the black position.
Shall I read you Botterill's comment here?
Yeah, go on.
It says, optically, white has a rotten game. The black pieces dominate the board, but maybe there is a tactical shot available. Dot.
Okay, yeah, there is a bit later.
Yeah.
Shot.
So king e7, a reasonable move, certainly, disconnecting the rooks. c3. And now short goes for it with knight there, which is actually a mistake. Because white's got quite a nice possibility here. I wasn't going to do this as a puzzle, but perhaps you might want to look at this position for a bit and ask yourselves what you would play as white. I'll put it, do you want me to put it the right way around for white or
No.
not?
No, you don't need to do that.
Okay. Just asking.
But someone called Colin joining the meeting.
Oh no, can't have that.
Well, what happens when antimatter meets? There's an explosion.
Hello, Colin.
Can you hear us, Colin?
Oh, Colin line. Hi, Colin. Okay, I think you can hear us, but we can't hear you.
Oh, wow.
Okay, what white's best is, did I write it down here? Is c4. And so, sorry, I didn't give you a chance to say, so if that was what you were going to do. And the point is, if the knight meekly moves back, then you can probably just take this pawn and your position isn't that terrible because the c4 is actually blocking the c file. If knight takes pawn, which at first sight looks kind of wonderful for black, it did to me anyway, black can play queen takes pawn. And if the knight comes back to f5, whether or not you play knight takes g2 check, what does white have in this position? Bearing in mind that he's a pawn up and doesn't mind simplifying.
Queen c5 check.
Queen c5 check. I didn't think of that. Oh, that's giving it away.
I was going to say bishop b4 check.
Yeah, bishop b4 looked quite interesting.
Takes queen. This looks actually queen c5 looks quite interesting, doesn't it? Because after knight takes queen, well, you can play rook takes knight because white's best is probably bishop takes knight. So what's the piece count here? That looks completely reasonable to me, to be honest. It wasn't what I had in mind. Bishop b4 check. Well, how can I do it without that idiotic dialogue box coming up? Bishop b4 check doesn't look idiotic either by any means. I would guess the king moves back to d8, in which case
f6.
And then what are you going to do? You've got to move the queen. I don't know. It doesn't look unreasonable to me, to be honest. What's the material count? 3 pieces each. That looks quite reasonable for white to me, wherever the white moves the queen almost. Queen a7 doesn't look ridiculous. Queen takes pawn, maybe. Don't know. It isn't clear, put it like that. If the queen moves without defending the pawn, I think I'm going to take it. If the queen moves back, don't know. I might have. I might be able to just activate with bishop c6 or something like that. So after knight takes pawn, queen takes pawn, knight f5. White's got this move. Yeah, queen d6 check, which is kind of a nice simplifying combination. And wherever and then pawn takes queen. Black's got to defend the knight, and well, he's a piece down in this position.
Can't he play knight takes g2 check?
He can, but he's still a piece down.
Right.
Yeah, so king there. Knight still attacked.
Yeah.
And 1, 2, 3. And white's only got to put. Oh, so still white's move, isn't it? Yeah. Yeah, knight d6 here. Yeah, knight d6.
Or knight f6. You take your pick.
Yeah.
Take your choice of rooks.
Yes, indeed. So, anyway, might miss c4. It's not. I think it's forgivable to miss it because you know you've got to calculate all of these variations with knight takes pawn check and so on, which aren't easy. But white played pawn takes pawn.
Ah, I was looking at this.
So
Queen takes rook check.
Queen takes rook check. Okay. Bishop takes queen.
Rook takes bishop check.
So what happens if I go there?
Can he not play rook c7 check, mate? Oh, it's not. I think it takes with the queen.
Just swing the rook over. Rook c8.
Yeah.
And then he can play knight c5.
Rook d1.
Actually, I think there are various. I think all of the above are good. To be honest, I hadn't actually looked at this before I asked the question. I was hoping you'd all tell me.
Rook d1 check.
Yeah, and then
Knight.
Knight f4.
Knight f4 check.
Oh, knight f4 looks good. Yeah,
That picks up the queen.
it does. Bishop b5 likewise.
Bishop b5, yeah.
Yeah, I think Black's got a choice.
Anything works.
Yeah, anything works. So he actually played king there. So what does Black play now?
Rook c7.
Bishop b5 looks good.
Rook there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, rook c2.
Back again.
He'll probably just go back to e1, I guess.
What was wrong with bishop b5? Where does the queen go?
Good question. Bishop b5 was played. Queen went there. And now, I wouldn't be surprised if there's more than one way, but there's a very, very forcing way here.
Rook takes f1. Rook takes rook. Rook takes g2.
Yeah, rook f1.
Yeah, is that Steve?
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
Julian?
rook g2.
Okay, and if king here?
Bishop e2.
Bishop e2.
Hang on.
Bishop e2, mate.
Bishop e2 is mate, yeah. Can't get much better than that. And oops, and if king there
Rook e2.
is mate, yeah. So, yeah. So a game with mistakes, very disappointed from a 10-year-old to make that sort of basic. Well, it was his opponent, wasn't he? 15-year-old who made who played c4, but very crisp finish and somehow typical. Well, the whole game was very typical of the French defence. It's imperfectly played, but so what? You just get a messy, complicated position and a very, very crisp finish by Shaw.
Give you some idea of the playing strength of his opponent. I think Steve would have been about a 160, 170 player at that point.
Okay.
And incredibly, he would play in his school team on about board 4 or board 5.
Crikey.
Because he was part of the Southern Grammar School team that I think actually won the Sunday Times Schools Championship in 1975.
Which school was that, Tony?
Southern Grammar School.
Okay, and where's that?
They had Lee and Lambert, didn't they?
Yeah, I mean, they're Glenn Lambert on 1, Peter Lee on board 2, both of whom would have been Lambert players. Yeah, Tim Love on board 3, who was about 180.
Who was on board 3?
Timothy Love.
Oh yes, I know Tim Love. Yes.
Yeah, it's about 180.
Yes.
At that time, and then you would have either Steve or a guy called Phil Eastlake.
I knew Phil Eastlake very well.
Yeah.
Yeah, a very tall man that became he wrote chess column as the bishop in Northumberland or somewhere. I think he went north to get away from Bob Noyce. I think it was.
Colin.
Yeah, possibly. So that was quite impressive school side they had.
Yeah, it's not bad, is it?
Colin, can you just roll back to 19 Rook C1? So white's just played rook c1.
Yeah.
And if you take that move back, Botterill says here, could white have won the exchange with 19 g4? So play g4.
By white.
It's black to move.
Black's turn.
No, instead of I've just
Instead
said
of rook c1.
Instead of white playing rook c1, play 19 g4. So the last move would have been 18 knight d5. Yeah. So 18 knight.
Oh, instead of white playing rook c1.
Yeah, sorry. 18 knight d5.
Okay. G4.
Okay. And now it says, could white have won the exchange with g4? Rook takes g4.
This is a very common thing black players are going to be watched out for. Bishop
h3, intending bishop takes f5 and knight d6 check.
Oh, okay.
But it says here things would work out very nicely for black after 20 knight takes f4.
Oh my God.
So it's all getting a bit crazy.
Yeah, this is what happens in the winner.
And if white
Botterill played it, didn't he? I think.
If white goes bishop f4 here.
Well, okay. So
if white plays
pawn, he's just hitting the queen and the bishop.
Yeah. So if white goes bishop f4,
you take it.
Rook takes f4.
Yeah.
Bishop takes f5.
Okay, what have we got?
And
here?
black plays queen takes e5.
Typical chaos. Wow.
But in that there's a refutation. So if you go back to 20 knight takes f4. Okay. Is that where we are? Yeah, 20 knight takes f4. It says, but instead white plays 21 queen f3 exclam. Queen f3 exclam. And black has too many men, it says here, en prise. So there you are. Pretty wild stuff.
Very wild, very wild. I mean, yeah. Yeah, I can say from experience, not obviously from this position, but you do get this sort of stuff quite typically in the mainline winner, and you can just very easily go astray. Very interesting variation.
Yeah. Okay, that was all. I was just adding Botterill's comments, really.
Yep, thank you for that. Yeah, interesting line. I think it possibly goes to show that d4 is a bit premature, actually, because it gives white the e4 square and these tactical possibilities. Okay, where are we? Next. Aha. Oh, God, what's happened here?
I don't know.
Yarmolinsky's game.
It's correct. It's correct. This is a game of Nigel Short's against Alex Yarmolinsky, I beg your pardon, who's a very strong American GM. Nigel's black, and we're looking at it from black's point of view, which is why I was totally confused, apart from the usual reasons. So it's black to play. What is his best move? Black's been defending for the past 30 or 40 moves grimly. Nigel was very much under the cosh for most of this game, and he's defended out to this position. He's got one move which draws, and the others lose. So there aren't that many moves to analyse, but I think it's 3 legal moves. That
I think I counted 3, actually. Yeah,
I think I counted 3. So I guess if 3 of you conspire to shout out different answers, you've got a good chance of getting it collectively. But
for a prize.
Yeah.
I don't think it's A2.
No, with 80 you just take it, and the knight and pawn will win.
King to H8 or G8.
G8.
That is the choice. Everybody's saying G8?
An embarrassment of riches.
No, hang on.
Okay.
Oh.
That's H8.
We've got the full spectrum.
H8 looks better because if the knight comes over, he's got to be careful.
If you go king g8, that allows a knight check. You've got to go king h8.
Okay, so king h8 then.
What did Julian say? I couldn't get it.
King g8 allows a knight check.
Okay,
Oh, right,
I'm going
okay.
there. Again, you can't move the pawn, yeah, because you just lose the ending. You know, so
King
king
G8.
there.
Get away.
So if I check you,
Go in the corner.
That's a draw.
and if I go here,
Push the pawn.
Push the pawn.
if I go here, I don't think it matters actually.
Oh, yes.
Awkward.
And knight f7, mate, is unavoidable. So that is White's winning idea. So king h8, I'm afraid, is the losing move.
That's recommended.
King g8 is the correct one.
Yeah, knight,
Sorry, Julian.
knight c, yeah, king g8, knight c6.
Knight c6.
Yeah.
Okay, now I'm going to have to think, which is most
Pawn,
regrettable.
okay.
Okay, a2.
I don't want to worry you, but that pawn's
Not going to work, is it?
So why is this different? Or should I have gone king h8?
Knight e7 check.
Yeah, king f8.
Yes.
Knight g6 check.
Oh, hang on.
King
No.
e8.
I think I might. Okay, I'm going to go there, aren't I?
I think you bollocked it up. Oh,
You don't have to.
White's losing.
Black's
Okay,
winning.
missed that.
Good one, Julian.
Julian is working for the other side.
Yeah, hold on though. Whose move is it here? I've got confused myself. I don't think it's knight e7 check. But what about king
King
here?
g6.
Yeah. Then
You can't say it.
sorry.
You're wrong.
Well, just queen,
That's
and then
when
the
it's
king can
black.
come to f8 after h7.
F8.
check.
You might have a
H8,
knight
both
promote to a
squares
knight.
covered.
No. What's wrong with
F8.
So that, and this is in fact just winning, isn't it? For black. So what White should do in the event of king g8 is advance his king first.
Yeah.
This is what we just did.
Yeah.
So a2 loses, so king there. Let me think about this because I've forgotten it, of course. Ooh, how do we do this?
We could
That's
actually
the draw.
block.
Knight there,
That's a draw.
pawn there, knight there, queen, check,
7, yeah.
king there, check, king there,
Oh.
and now White's, well, that's only White's only move, otherwise he loses.
That's the
And
draw.
after
pity.
that, Black's got very good drawing chances.
Yeah.
It is a draw, yeah. So
After all that,
after all that, so I think that was about move 70 or something like that in the game. Have I got the moves? Okay.
I think
Yeah,
we'd
I
have
think
to-
that-
I think this was a rapid play game. It doesn't make much difference, I know, but it.
Okay. Well, if that, I'm not. Are you sure about that, James?
No, I'm not, but I suspect it was.
So was that black to play and draw in effect?
Sorry. Yeah, it's black to play and draw. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And king g8 is the only one that does it.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Very good.
Yeah. I mean, it's great, and you know, it looks like a study. Will it be a bit easy by study standards, I suppose. I'm pretty sure that game's in this excellent book, page 190, no less.
Yeah, it says here, Colin, after the final king h8, it says again the only square. I hadn't seen the forced win during the game, but I certainly felt like I had dodged a bullet. Unsurprisingly, I was drained of energy after this epic defensive effort.
Yeah. That's from this book, by the way. Nigel Short's It's pretty much it's a collection of games with some of his insights, and I think it's a very good book, by the way.
The new one.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, very good. Yeah, just shows how difficult chess is, I think, when everything's that critical. You either think it's dead easily won or dead easily drawn, but it just shows how quick a knight can be somehow, doesn't it? There's 1, 2, 3, and it can checkmate me.
Just,
Book of the year, wasn't it?
yeah, just to say that game was from the Keresh Memorial.
Right, yeah. And I think it was standard play.
It was standard play, yeah. It was round 6 of the Keresh Memorial.
It says that at the top, Keresh Memorial, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That Nigel Short book was in the book of the year, wasn't it? It was in finalist.
I think it's a good candidate for it, to be honest. I don't know.
It was, I think, some Soviet thing won it, I think, or Soviet.
Yeah. Okay.
It got a special commendation.
Yes, it did.
Okay.
Which I think is the only time I've ever seen that.
Oh, right. Yeah. I mean, one thing, and possibly not related to what you just said about Nigel Short, is he can be quite forthright, which may or may not be a, what's the word, a euphemism. And he can annoy a number of people with his comments. You know, for one example of that, you may or may not want to look up his obituary of Tony Miles, which certainly annoyed a lot of people.
It wasn't. It was rather unkind, to put it mildly.
Yeah, to put it mildly.
What did he have against Tony Miles?
They were great rivals, and they didn't. I don't think there was any love lost between them, Paul. I think there were two big fish in the same pond, but pretty much.
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, they disliked each other forever, I think. I mean, if you go back and, you know, when Nigel Short first played in the Master Game, he beat Tony Miles. And Tony Miles was very clearly irked, shall we say.
Yeah.
Which was a pity, because together they were very formidable and important.
Absolutely.
players.
I mean, they're both, you know.
They could have done so much more together rather than being a little bit opposite.
Yeah, I think all of that generate. You know, I've got the greatest respect for any master or grandmaster, but you know, that generation in particular, they all did it off their own bats, basically. You know, with probably parental help and other help in getting lifts to places. But in terms of chess development, they all did it on the back of their own, off the back of their own talent and hard work, I think.
Nigel Short also shockingly said that women were biologically not as good at chess as men.
Yes, and he's continued to stand by that position. So, you know, you can say that he's been abrasive, at least to some people in his time.
And
I should have mentioned the World Championship match against Kasparov. They basically realised, or thought, but probably correctly, that they could get more money by going outside of the official FIDE sanctioned tournament, but basically from their own made their own World Championship match. And for years after, you had a dichotomy of the so-called classical World Chess Championship and the FIDE World Chess Championship.
Who did he play for? Dichotomy.
He played for Greece, Paul.
Oh, I remember now.
It was Welsh, wasn't he?
I thought it was a Welsh scrum half, you know.
He was very good sometimes and very bad other times.
Yeah, he features in a match against German philosophers. There's a famous football match against German philosophers. If anyone's interested in the Kasparov Short match, then there's an excellent commentary on it in here. Can you see that?
Is that the Dominic Lawson book?
Yeah, just about.
Yes.
To be fair to Nigel Short, he does a lot of promotion for chess now in
Yes, he does.
poorer countries, doesn't he? Trying to promote it. So.
I asked him to speak at our Tuesday Zoom meeting and never got a reply, so he's in my bad books.
Oh, right, he's in our bad books then for a start. Yeah.
We also at him on Twitter and Facebook for this meeting, so he would have received a direct message that we'd done that. and he failed to turn up to listen to himself.
Probably
He
a good job.
he may be here incognito.
Yeah, if he does turn up, just let me know, will you, Martin?
Colin, you're in big trouble. There's a contract out on you.
Surely Nunn and Spielman are older than Short, aren't they? But they
Yes.
weren't like that.
Yeah,
They
agreed.
were of that kind of generation of Tony Miles.
Yep, they were. They were. Yeah. So,
I think the thing about Nigel Short was it wasn't really realised how young a boy could play in a Masters tournament, regardless of how good they are or how good you hope they would quickly become. Even Penrose or Mestel were only 15, 16, starting to, they were the youngest qualifiers for the British Championship up to that point, cross swords with the top players.
Yeah, Short was a prodigy. You're quite right to point
Yes,
that out.
a word you don't see around too much now.
Well, it's almost superfluous, isn't it?
Yeah, thank you. Yes.
He's a very good commentator as well at events.
Yes, I think so. I think so. Yeah, you see him online on YouTube from time to time, don't you? Well, I do anyway. But,
Going back to Nigel's comment about women, you it's always worth asking him, if you bump into him, what his record is against Judith Polgar.
Or even Sally Atkin.
Oh yeah, that well-known player. Yeah. They played a match, didn't they?
No, they played once, but it probably would have been called a match by her mother who was watching.
Oh, okay.
Okay, moving swiftly on. The next game is a game between Yasser Seirawan and Nigel Short. And as I recall, it's incredibly complicated, so don't expect too much illumination from me. But again, I think it's quite a good example of his style of play. So again, Nigel was black, and he elects to play, as he very often did, the Queen's Gambit declined. So play continues, and Seirawan played Bishop F4. When I found this game, it quite frightened me because I've played Bishop F4 quite a lot myself. The more usual move here is, well, you can either play, well, Bishop G5 is more usual, but Bishop F4 has definitely got a big following nowadays.
What perhaps wasn't quite so popular back when this game was played?
Absolutely. This game was played in 1992 when it was probably relatively rare. I did notice that after this game, the following two games between Seirawan and Short in the Queen's Gambit declines, Seirawan chose Bishop G5 in those games. He didn't repeat Bishop F4. But whether or not that was for other reasons, who knows? But yeah, you're right. It was when I started playing Bishop F4, it was partly as a surprise weapon.
Funnily enough, in '98, this came out.
Yeah, I've got that book. Good book, Colin Crouch.
And largely as a response to the growing popularity of 5 Bishop F4.
Right. Yeah. It's a good book. It's what I based mine on. So
Colin is often a trailblazer at international level. Probably a style guru, really.
Yeah. So there's a lot of moves here for black. Knight BD7, A6, or the sharpest line C5. Takes pawn, bishop takes pawn, very firmly going down what you can consider the main line here. A3, Queen A5. Now obviously B4 isn't possible because knight takes pawn just wins the pawn because the pawn's pinned. Rook D1. I think that is a decent move. The two most common moves here are castles, perhaps surprisingly, but for whatever reason it seems to work in this position. It looks suicidal and wasn't played for a long time because of that, but it certainly has stood the test of time. Or knight D2 would play similar to the game. Anyway, Rook D1 was played. White retreats the bishop. He kind of protects the knight because the bishop normally comes there, and obviously just after Rook D1 has been played, obviously B4 is a threat, forking the queen and the bishop. So he just retreats the bishop. Knight D2, intended to come round and put some pressure on the queen side, obviously. So E5, I think this has all been seen before. Knight b3, and Nigel goes to b6. Bishop g5, obviously the bishop was attacked. Bishop e6, which is a very sharp move. Sorry, did I mention anything about that?
It's a D pawn hanging for black.
So it's attacked 1, 2, 3 times and defended twice. So, okay, after pawn takes pawn,
Yes.
knight takes pawn. Why didn't that happen? And then what?
Well, but no, white plays bishop takes knight first.
Okay.
Yes.
So bishop takes knight first. Good question. So can I play pawn takes pawn?
Bishop takes bishop.
Knight takes bishop, or pawn takes knight first, I should say.
Queen's attack now.
So the queen's got to move, and then I play knight takes bishop. 1, 2, 3, 4, and I've got. Well, I think I'm a pawn up actually. So, as I said, this is incredibly complicated, but it looks like Black is holding on by just by the skin of his teeth almost in all of these tactics. Obviously, this is what White is doing. He's totally trying to put pressure on the white centre with these moves, but Black isn't quite cracking yet. So White played knight a4.
Well, White's well behind on development, though, isn't he? Look at his king.
Yeah. All pretty well. Yeah, exactly. And that will be a very big factor quite shortly, Paul. So Queen a6, quite a move. He hits the knight, but walks into a pin. So
wow.
I don't know. It's tempting to think that this is prepared, really, but who knows? It wasn't that much of a main line then, and Nigel's the sort of player who will go into these lines if he thinks he can calculate it out.
Well, what's wrong with pawn takes pawn now for White?
D take d5.
Pawn takes pawn was played. The best move appears to be this. But again, but this line is also very complicated, because after bishop takes knight, I can't just retake because I've got queen a5 check. Seems to be strong. You've still got b4 then, but I'm at least picking up pawns.
You got knight b4 after that.
Or knight b4. Yeah, agreed.
Knight take.
Knight b4 is cleaner. You're quite right, Tony. Yeah. So instead of that, you play pawn takes pawn here, and for some reason, White has an advantage. Obviously, it's still a complicated line. The bishop on c5 is hanging. I guess that's why.
Black's losing here, isn't he?
Lots of things.
But he's a piece up, remember, in this particular position, because he's just played bishop takes knight.
Oh, I see, yes.
Yeah, so White's going to regain his piece apparently with advantage, but it's not a massive advantage. It's something like plus, it's nearly a pawn's worth, something like that. So, yeah, quite complicated. So, pawn takes pawn.
Queen takes knight.
Queen takes knight. Now what do you do? So why doesn't... I mean, it's hard to think that this should work, really. So it's... Black's still a piece up.
C6, because the bishop b3.
No, take on e6.
You've got to take on e6.
If I take on e6, can you find Black's reply? Which kind of happened in the game as well, the same thematic idea. I think it's probably as good as the game continuation, but...
Does knight b4 work?
Knight e4.
Knight b4.
Knight b4, okay. So if pawn...
We might have to take the pawn with check first.
So pawn takes knight.
Bishop takes pawn check.
Yeah, where do you go? Well, I guess rook d2 might be a move, but it's hard to believe in it, isn't it?
No, you've got rook d1 after that, something like that. So.
Yeah, exactly. Rook d8.
Or even I want to try and get knight e4 in sort of favourable circumstances.
No, you're totally right. Knight b4 is the move.
Yeah.
And here, rook a c8 is very difficult to meet.
But what's on the pawn takes pawn check?
Okay,
Because then you can't take with the rook.
I'll just move the king.
Okay, and queen d3 presumably.
Queen d3. Looks a good move. And I'll just play e4. And now, if you, well, yeah, the c2 square is hanging, the b3 knight is hanging. You know, wherever the queen moves, I think.
You've got queen b4, queen b5, mate.
Well, queen b5 wins the rook, doesn't it? Yeah, this is all just winning for black, isn't it?
Wow.
Yeah. Well, that wins the bishop as well.
And it wins the bishop as well.
Actually,
a huge collapse.
Colin, after rook d3, have you got rook c2? Rook c2.
Yep, looks good.
Yeah. No, you haven't. Doesn't work. Sorry.
I
got pawn takes, rook, bishop takes.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, good enough. Yeah. It's good to see so many perfectionists in the audience, but yeah. So, I mean, it's just, you know, it's just blown out. You know, a sort of relatively tame position a few moves ago suddenly just become everybody's got the choice. Well, everybody appears to have a huge choice of exchanges. Probably pawn takes bishop was the best move, but Sirawan thought, let's take that first. And Nigel, in any case, continued with knight b4.
Ooh.
And the lines are very similar to what we just looked at, I think. If pawn takes knight, bishop b4 check, king e2. It's this move, rook ac8, which is always trying to deflect the queen away from the defense of the knight. Queen d3.
e4.
E4 again, it looks good, doesn't it? I'm not sure why that's not the move, to be honest, but the computer, I looked at this on the computer earlier, and it preferred bishop d7.
Yeah, that's quite strong as well, yeah.
Which is very strong, threatening that, still threatening e4, still threatening to retake the bishop. Black's a piece down here, but I think he's very soon going to pick up either the knight or the bishop, or checkmate the white king.
Or the king. King f3, is it?
Here.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe. So what do we do here? I want to play e4 check, but I suspect it doesn't work. I might just take the bishop, you know. Oh, no. What here?
Bishop e7.
Bishop e7, threatening queen g4 mate.
Wow.
So, or even bishop d6, I think, is also a move. So, you know, and I think e4 check is possibly coming in as a move. Why didn't that happen as well? So, yeah. So pretty impressive that worked this all out somehow. And
yeah.
That works. So sorry, so where did we get to? Yeah. So Sirawan, he obviously saw all that, and instead of pawn takes knight, he played the very reasonable idea, queen e4. And he thought, right, now the knight can't move because it's pinned against the queen. But I'm afraid it didn't do him much good. Short continued rook c8. Which is quite an amazing move. Now he's threatening check, and the discovery wins white's queen. So, it's kind of a mutual pin in some ways.
Ah.
Yeah. So pawn takes bishop isn't possible, nor bishop takes bishop. You can't really do much. So he's kind of obliged to take that hanging piece. Pawn takes pawn, check, king there, takes the knight.
Could he have played bishop d3?
Bishop
d3, protecting c2.
Yeah,
I looked at bishop d3.
At what point?
Yeah, now. No, after. Going to keep going forward.
Forward. Yeah, forward again.
Rook c8. Now bishop
now
d3.
Bishop.
Oh, now bishop d3, threatening mate.
Yeah.
What a sneaky idea.
Because that protects the queen as well.
Yeah.
protect C2 and E4.
Very good point. Winning for white by the look of it.
Yeah, because now we've got chance to castle.
I don't think it does, but I don't know why not. So knight takes bishop check, queen takes knight. Looks good.
Both Sirouan and Short missed it.
And I
Let's
think
go
if
through
White-
this. So
If
try
White
knight
gets
take.
chance to castle, we must be fine.
Yeah.
Okay. Look at knight takes bishop check, queen takes E4. Does this help her? Help me by any chance? Probably not. Okay, very interesting.
Wouldn't have thought so.
Queen D4, queen takes knight,
Mm.
bishop takes bishop. Okay.
Well, queen
so-
d4, he plays bishop takes bishop straight away.
Yes,
But
bishop
the
takes
queen's
bishop
on.
better.
Yeah, the queen's on pre.
So the bishop takes bishop, queen takes queen.
Oh, I see, yes.
You've got
Oh, you got rook C4. For what that's worth.
Ugh.
Just in case you thought the position was too easy.
Queen d2.
Queen D2. Crikey,
No,
it's
I
still
think-
still a complicated mess, isn't it? Well, bishop takes bishop. I don't know.
Pawn takes
Can't
bishop.
stand it anymore.
Takes
No, you've
bishop,
got
queen
the
takes
knight
knight.
Yeah.
Any questions?
Is
How
there a
did you
back
work all that out?
I'm a piece up. I'm a piece up. Come on.
Yeah.
I'm all forced.
Yeah, but we had knight moves.
E4.
I was looking at pawn takes pawn check at the end of that.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay.
It's just king h8.
I'm still a piece up though.
Yeah, you got queen d6.
Oh,
Oh, that's a bit awkward.
Yeah. Rook
C8.
c8.
great, yeah.
Yeah, that's good enough. That's good enough. Yeah. I just wonder if there might be in the back rank, mate.
Yeah, but
later on, but
rook
there isn't.
C8 and then queens.
Oh, good point.
Which
Very
is the
good
pawn
point.
and queens. We check.
Very good point indeed.
Then you have to take
Oh.
it back. And it's mate.
Rook
Or you move the other rook
C4,
back to c8.
I told you it was complicated, didn't I?
Rook C4, C8.
Rook c4 to c8. It's fine.
Yes.
Yeah, that glues.
Yeah, indeed. Indeed.
Yeah,
French
thanks for
queen
that.
takes pawn. Yeah. No, good line though.
Mm.
How convincing was any of that?
He shows a lot of promise, that player.
So bishop d3, knight takes bishop, queen takes is forced.
Well, knight had to take the
E4.
bishop, didn't it? Because we were threatening mate on H7.
Yeah,
Otherwise.
I think so. Do you want me to stick Fritz on? Or
No.
not really? Or do you trust my analysis?
We
Well, I
trust.
think there might have been some knight moves.
Sorry, Paul?
I think there might have been some knight moves instead of allowing black to take the knight. So we have to play queen d4, yeah.
Yeah, you've got to play that e4.
Queen
And,
d4.
yeah, I am actually going to win a piece here. Oh, why not? Sorry, queen d4,
Yeah.
rook c4. Why did I play that? I can't remember.
Save the queen.
Oh, hang on.
Oh, yeah, to stop the tempo on the queen. And then bishop takes bishop. And we're a piece up.
Excellent.
Yeah, okay. Good question.
Yeah.
So pawn takes, bishop takes, king takes, queen takes, knight. I think it has gone now. He chose bishop takes e5. So what's the material situation? The material situation is equal, forgetting pawns. But white's king and his
Well, it
development.
looks like black's got rook c2, doesn't it?
Yeah, you
Rook
played
c2
that.
even.
So why did you do this?
So why not rook c2? Or are you
Good
just letting the
question.
king out?
Can the king shelter on f3, or I'm just
Sorry, Paul. What I'm thinking of is that rook c4 prepares bishop g4. If you
Yeah,
know what I
sure.
mean. If the king gets to f3, I
Yeah.
think that's the idea. I'm not saying that rook c2 isn't also a good move. And you might think, well, why not rook c2 and then rook c4? Oh, because the bishop's on it. Good point. Okay.
King's getting out. Then, isn't it?
So rook there. You played rook d4. Rook takes rook. Queen takes rook. bishop takes pawn. And perhaps surprisingly, so I just wanted to show this position as well. It's equal material.
Mm.
And you might think that white's pretty well got out of jail. but black's got a huge threat of rook c8 to c2. And white actually resigned in this position.
He's also got bishop c4.
And he's got bishop c4. Well, the king can escape, perhaps.
Well, yeah,
but you know, he's not getting his pieces out. And I think the main threat is rook c8, followed by rook c2 check. And it just looks awful for white somehow. Having said that, why not e4 here? Good question. Then bishop c4 check.
I think it's still got rook c8.
Isn't the main threat queen c2?
That is another main threat. Yes, it is. You're quite right.
Yeah.
Quite right.
Yeah. Right. Well, it's going to be mate or queen d2 drops the queen.
Yeah, it does. Quite right. Queen c2 winning. So well done, Steve and Nigel, for seeing that. And yes, so indeed. I thought that was quite a brutal game somehow. As I say, you get from something fairly placid where both sides are just sort of developing normally almost to just
It seemed that
a complete mess, basically.
White got in trouble because he didn't castle, did he?
yeah, exactly.
He did.
At what move did white really go wrong in his development?
The really poor move was, according to my computer, he should have played knight ace. He should have played knight there, here.
But he's still not developed, is he?
He's still not very well developed. If white wants to develop, if we go back to this position where he played rook d1, I think it's evidently playable, but I think he ought to have played knight d2 immediately.
I thought rook d1 has been replaced by long castles now.
Yes, it has. So long castling's a plan.
I think that's Spielman's move.
Against
shorting the candidates.
Oh, I wonder. That's possible. That's possible. And it avoids all of those problems. Suddenly, white's development doesn't look at all bad. Yeah.
Is there anything wrong with bishop e2 at some point, preparing for castle's kingside?
No, there isn't. Probably. No, there isn't. And you probably do that. In fact, I played something similar myself, Martin, so it's probably something to be avoided. But you probably do that without playing rook d1, if you're ready to do it.
Interesting. Yeah, it's a good game, instructional game.
Yeah, very good game. He had a similar one at the same opening against another guy, but I don't want to be too repetitive. After that hyper complicated game, bit of, well, not that much light relief. If you'd like to absorb this incredible position for a second or three. So in this game, it's another French winnower, and Nigel Short is on the white side of it. And he's getting absolutely creamed. So by a player who this might be the guy I thought was 24.50 or so. So a decent player, but much weaker than Nigel. And he's duffing Nigel up using Nigel's own opening, basically. So you can see it's pretty daft for Nigel. And black played rook takes g2. So for the first question, what is black's biggest threat in this position? If it were black's move, what would you play?
Queen d3.
Correct. Who said that? Was that Stephen?
Yeah. Followed by c2 mate.
Yeah. So the correct move, I'll just play a silly move on the board. So I can show it. Queen there, pawn takes queen. C2 is checkmate.
Wow.
I would have played queen b2.
Queen b2.
Steve.
Yeah, no, that's such a lovely mate, actually.
It does a lovely mate. It's forcing because white's threatening h8 queen.
Yeah, exactly. White's threatening h8 queen. On his last move, black could have quite cheerfully, as it were, taken the h pawn.
Yeah, that's what I would have
winning
done.
position. White's got the exchange, but black's got everything else. You know, his knights are coming in, his queen's probably coming in, but he went for it. He played rook takes g2, and Nigel played rook a2, defending against the threat. He did have an interesting defensive idea of playing queen there, king takes check, but that didn't really help him. That's he played rook a2 to defend against the mate. So what next? Black to play.
Queen b1.
Queen b1 looks very strong.
It does, threatens mate again.
Threatens mate, threatens a rook.
Oh yes, it does. Yes.
Yeah. The point is, so I have to put whose move is it?
I think you played a4 as a practice move.
Oh, rook a2. What am I?
It's black to play.
It's black to play, right?
You're about to play
Oh, so I can
queen
play it
b1.
anyway. So what's wrong with queen b1? Who knows? Complete mystery.
What about knight to e3? Oh no, he's got bishop takes knight.
And the threat, of course.
Oh, can you play rook b2?
Oh, I see.
You play queen b1.
Oh, go away.
No, but
Queen
b1.
Queen takes b7 check.
Well, the queen's on it still.
Yeah, and then you.
if you play rook b2 now,
ooh,
that stops the communication to.
It's still rook d2.
Rook d2 still mate. Rook d2 is the big threat here.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Yes, I didn't see that. Yeah.
And I can't see a particularly good way against it, actually.
Rook e2.
Rook e2 stops the mate. I'm
Moves is
guessing
ridiculous.
that this
It
wins.
doesn't. How about
Analysing
queen
it.
takes c1? Queen takes c1.
Oh, that's very nice. Check.
Yeah.
Check.
Mate.
And mate. Beautiful.
Oh.
Good spot.
How did Shorty get out of this?
Well, oh, bugger it. Queen b1 wasn't played. I
Ah.
don't think. Was it?
No, that was my suggestion.
Why does it
Well,
say? why does
Short
it-
copies all my ideas.
He does indeed. He's completely shameless.
What's the defense to queen b1?
I don't know. How about rook h1?
Well, didn't someone suggest queen takes b2?
Oh, rook
Then
d2
you
and
just
queen
play-
takes c1.
Then just play, sort of rook d2 check and queen
Queen
c1.
takes c1. Okay. Okay, so the next task is to find a defense.
Queen.
And I suspect there may not be one. Okay. Check.
How pointless is queen c8?
Well,
So is someone saying queen b2 doesn't work here?
queen b7.
Sorry, queen b7.
Yeah,
Oh,
queen
queen
takes
takes
queen.
queen.
Then he
Queen
comes back again.
Well, yeah, queen
well,
takes
okay.
queen.
By that time we've played pawn to.
Oh, okay,
Okay,
good
so-
point. Very
You'll
good
be
point.
2 queens down.
Sorry. Very good point.
Your material down though, aren't you?
Yeah, you can go queen b1 again.
Queen b1.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now what?
Now what for white?
Yeah.
Excellent question.
Can't even play queen eight.
Oh, hang on. No, that doesn't work. So
I can play queen.
No, it can't work. Not that.
Doesn't work.
Rather than queen takes b7, what about moving the queen and sacrificing the queen on e8 or something like that?
What does it do? What good does it do?
Because when you queen the pawn, you get it with check before the. Oh, I see what you mean. It doesn't
still doesn't make
necessarily do anything, does it?
We've already queened the pawn.
It's a good no.
Yeah. You've got to try and get back to that defending that bishop, and you can't do it, can you?
Rather embarrassingly, I've forgotten the actual game continuation.
Oh, Colin.
Go back to the game.
Okay. I assume it was knight e3, but I don't see why that's any better. So bishop takes knight, queen there, because we just get this anyway. And that happened. That was what happened on the board. And I have a feeling it is the quickest mate, because if rook takes knight,
Queen F1.
Queen F1 and rook D2.
Yeah,
Queen
queen
F1.
F. Well, it doesn't work,
Rook
does it?
E1, Queen F3.
Yeah, it's quick enough.
Yeah,
Well, that's good, yeah.
yeah, well done.
So I thought Nigel Short was white here.
No, yes, he was.
He is. Yeah.
He got duffed up.
Lost.
Oh, I see.
Oh,
Yeah, he got duffed up.
trick.
But I don't see what's wrong with Queen A1. Okay, I'm going to cheat. I've had enough of this. Oops. Yeah, so it thinks white has a better defence. So Queen B1 is a mate in 8 and Knight E3 checkers played as a mate in 4. So we'll give you points for both, I think. Yeah, okay. White's only got suicidal moves after Queen B1, so they're both very good. So well done for getting that. And anyway, I thought it was a fabulous finish, and I did love that Queen D3 check C2 mate.
Yeah.
So anyway, by special request from James, this is again Short Timon.
Oh no.
Is this in the candidates?
1991, who specifically asked for this game when I suggested showing the. I'll go through it relatively quickly because there is a point. So Short is white. We have an Alekin's defence. Fairly normal. Don't think White's play is that brilliant, to be honest. But he gets a slight advantage, as often happens. White defends the E-pawn.
D2.
Looks fairly normal. Okay. Now. Okay. So this is the position I wanted to focus on. And Black's threatening to swap off queens, which probably gives him a pretty playable position, really. White's got the 2 bishops. White's E5 pawn might be a bit of a target, but it's cramping Black. And I think it's fair to say that with a move like Queen E2 by White, not Queen D3, Queen E2, he keeps some advantage. You can play Bishop D2. Perhaps even double up on the FR, Bishop G5, put pressure on Black and so on, with a slight advantage. But Nigel Short wanted a bit more than that. And I don't know how many of you know this game, perhaps some of you do, but if you do, please don't shout out. I'd be interested if you absorb this position for a minute or so. How would you try and play?
Can't White play Bishop takes knight?
And win a pawn.
And win a pawn. That's a very good question. So, I hadn't even thought of that pawn. It's a bit of a poor show. Queen takes pawn. Why isn't that extremely good for Black?
Bishop E6.
Bishop E6.
Or even bishop F5 is might be a move. So bishop E6, yeah, if bishop E6 I think is better.
Yeah, it's still a pawn though, isn't it?
You got the 2 bishops. The E5 pawn might be a bit of a target.
Yeah, you can blockade it, but it's not.
That's fine for White. I prefer White there.
So I kind of, I'm sorry. I was just looking to see if there was a tactical, if something to do with E1, but I'm not seeing it. If there is.
Bishop D6. Sorry, bishop E6.
Yeah.
Then we're going to go.
White plays C3 here and go after B7. Oh, he just takes the queen, I suppose.
Okay, I'll just take the queen.
Queen E4.
Okay, Queen E4.
Yeah.
And now you play bishop F5.
Yeah, it's not convincing. Doesn't look as if it's worth a pawn to me, though. Maybe it is. I don't know.
Hang on, go back a few moves. Isn't there a problem that the queen is threatening E1, therefore the knight cannot move?
Yeah, I was trying to take advantage of that, Martin, but I couldn't see how.
Bishop E6 first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then,
Queen E4.
Oh, you go E4. Oh, yeah. You can't take the pawn with the bishop now, can you? No. Okay. They looked like there was a combination there, didn't it?
I'm starting to like bishop F5.
You might have something on with if you can play Queen C5 after Bishop E6 and Queen E4. If Black plays Queen C5, you've got a threat of Bishop D5.
Hey.
Oh,
But you play Queen C5 here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Now you're threatening Bishop F5. So
yeah, and now you play
C3.
and now you threat Bishop D5.
Yeah, but you got Bishop E3.
Yeah.
True. Yeah.
Oh, good enough.
How about Bishop F5?
C3.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm going to have to cheat.
Forced almost to play
Queen B6.
Well, Queen B6, Bishop E3. It looks too easy. Oh, well, Queen takes pawn then. Yeah, maybe Queen B6.
Yeah, then Rook B1 and Rook B7.
You can't play Rook B1. The bishop's on it.
I would.
No, but I mean,
then lose the rook. That'd be typical of me.
I thought the suggestion was you play Bishop E3 and allow Queen B2, in which case you'll play like Rook B1, Rook B7.
Not with the bishop there. Well, you can play.
Sorry, yeah, you're right.
You can play knight. You can play knight D4 here, can you?
Knight D4.
Chaps, do you mind if I cheat?
Yes. Oh, it's getting late.
Yeah, it's out of doziness. Well, it's giving. No, it's giving White an advantage.
But only 0.4.
Only point, yeah.
Oh, it's going up.
Bishop there. Why not Queen E4? Oh, because then
Queen D4 is good, yeah.
well, it reckons this is almost equal. It might be just what Tony said about, or was it Steve, about the two bishops? And
I think it's more crude than that. I mean, now in a position where you can play Bishop takes Bishop D5, and then Bishop F3, and the pawn's hanging.
Yeah.
What happened in the game?
Okay. Okay. Let us pretend that's. And to be fair, in fact, that advantage isn't as great as the advantage it gave after Nigel's chosen plan. So evidently in Grandmaster play, grabbing the pawn isn't the right move. And Short found a very surprising even plan, especially in view of that variation, in my opinion, in order to increase its advantage. This game is very famous for its finish, but I think how he got there is equally worthy of praise, to be honest.
I only know the finish.
Did he play Bishop D2?
He didn't, and that looks like a very sensible developing move.
What about bishops?
I guess swapping the queens off doesn't promise White any advantage or much advantage.
Do you play Bishop C4 here as White?
He did. Bishop C4.
Oh.
And what White wants to do, he wants to play his queen there and pressurise the king's side with his pieces, perhaps play Bishop H6 and Knight G5.
Yeah.
And obviously, if he moves the queens away or swaps the queens off, then obviously he can't do that anytime soon.
Yeah.
So Bishop C4.
I was trying to make C4 work.
It drops the bishop.
It drops the bishop. Yeah,
and then you're on D5 as well.
On D5, but you're losing a pawn that way.
So
but the idea was to block the fourth rank.
Yeah, and that seems to be what Nigel Short's play was about, and he did. It's very ambitious, especially as he could have taken the pawn with comfortable position. You know, he might have played on and seen if Black mucked it up or just played a routine move like Queen E2. So Black plays Knight B6, challenging the bishop.
Yep, fair enough.
So how do you continue?
B3.
B3, yeah. And you're happy about losing the 2 bishops and doubling your pawns.
But your black square bishop is likely, as you say, to be exchanged off. And you've got perhaps got a bit more space as white. So
that's exactly right, and that's exactly what happened. But I've got to say, if I looked at this position for a week, I wouldn't have come at that at all.
I don't like the double C pawns.
Yeah, but let's and I'd just like to go through this one relatively quickly, just to demonstrate the point and get to James's favourite part of the game as well.
Knight takes bishop.
Pawn
Now you've got
takes.
that pawn on c4, which is exactly where I wanted it.
Well, it does have a bit of a cramping effect in some ways on Black. So Black played Rook E8, perhaps a surprising move. White was threatening Bishop A3 here, by the way. Rook E8 obviously gets out of that. Rook D8 looks more promising, but after Bishop there, Queen there, it's going to be very hard for Black to challenge the D file, because after Bishop D2, Queen A4 or something. So he played Rook to E8. White took the D file. I'll just go through these moves relatively quickly. As advertised, White pressurised the king side, forced the queen to a slightly more passive square before going to H6. If Black swaps off the bishops, bishop takes bishop, queen takes bishop, knight G5 is going to be very awkward to me.
Yeah.
So bishop back, gets his infiltrates with the rook, defends. Rook. So just see how much Black is in a bind. He's got almost no active play. He's got the long diagonal, restricting the white knight, but precious little else. So would you swap off bishops, please? D4, just kind of turning the screw. I can't see any direct threats yet, but he's obviously coming in. Okay, how does White finish this game off? James isn't allowed to answer. And you may have seen this position in a number of, if you do exercises, I'm sure you'd have seen this plan.
In Chess magazine quite recently.
Sorry, Tim.
No, don't say anything.
Magazine quite recently, yeah. Someone nominated it as their favourite game. I can't remember who it was.
Oh, okay.
It's not Knight G5.
It wasn't Timon that said it.
Probably not. No. Okay. Question for you. Look at it this way. How can White Knight G5? It wasn't Knight G5. It allows a quick mate for Black, unfortunately. How does White deliver mate? Perhaps. It still isn't that obvious somehow. So I'll just play through it because I think.
How many people have actually seen this?
No, I haven't seen. I can't remember it.
No, I've not seen it.
Another game, I think.
I think the people that don't know it or haven't, or have seen it, people have seen it before.
Need to shut up
and let the people who haven't seen it discuss it with Colin.
Yeah.
Shall I not show it then, Martin?
Well, I was just thinking, but maybe give us a little clue.
Yeah, of course. Sorry. Yeah, I'll do that. Yeah.
Give them another couple of minutes.
Yeah.
If it's my game, I'd like to play Knight E1.
Knight E1. Okay. How are you going to follow it up, though, Paul?
I don't know. Now I can use the rook. So
Knight F3, of course.
yeah, probably.
I
rook
remember this.
F4.
So.
Well, you could redirect that knight to D3, F4, and then take knight takes H5, and then put a rook on D3 and swing it over to G3.
Does he play rook takes F7?
That looks like a good plan, Steve. You've got to defend G2 first, remember. But yeah, moving the knight there. Knight there,
I was assuming Black doesn't get to move.
That doesn't achieve anything.
Yeah, actually, it's going to be awkward to swing the rook to the third rank because you're going to have. See you defend F3 anyway.
Leave the knight on F3.
Yeah.
This is Short's most famous move.
Sorry. So think of Paul Morphy's.
What is Short's most famous move?
Sorry, Julian.
It's Short's famous move, isn't it?
It is. Yeah.
The most famous move that Short's ever played.
So it must be rook takes f7 then.
No.
No, it's king h2.
Queen takes this.
King h2, king g3, king f4.
I'll give
king
you a clue.
g5,
What
king h6.
if you want to play queen g7? What do you need to do that?
I know. He just marches the king up, didn't he?
Yeah, that's it.
Wow.
That's it.
Oh.
I mean, why-
It is an amazing plan.
I didn't think it was that game.
So king there, rook there, there. But black can do nothing.
Wow.
And he
That's like a
resigned.
Bobby
No,
Fischer
it's
plan.
this king h7 just loses to rook takes pawn check. He's in such a bind, he can't do anything. You know, it's remarkable. So, I mean, it is a great finish. And I'm sure that generations of juniors who've seen it have got checkmated with their king in the middle of the board. Heaven forfend. As a result. But I still think that this idea is remarkable. You know, I mean, you know, just to double your own pawns up like this and recognise you've got a fantastic bind on the position, I think is a remarkable judgment. Anyway.
Why can't black play bishop c8 straight away?
That's a very good question.
After king h2, bishop c8.
I have absolutely no idea.
Where's that rook going?
Doesn't matter.
I think you just play rook d8 here.
Well, now you
rook
can
takes
move the
rook.
knight.
And then rook takes rook.
He's still just
Can't white just play one with king g3?
Can't white
Yeah, that
keep
drops the
going,
bishop.
king g3.
The thing is, you can know you can.
F4, king g3. There's nothing black can do.
Well, he can play king
yeah, he's
h7.
got king h7 now, though,
He's got
hasn't
king
he?
Yeah, but
h7.
you've got
that's
knight.
fine.
Yeah, the thing is, you want to go and play knight g5 if the bishop comes off of b7, because it then is also threatening f7 as well.
Yeah, then rook takes f7 is on.
And the thing is, if you actually, I've spotted something here as well.
Actually, rook d8 does
Rook
look
d8
strong,
works
doesn't
because
it?
you win the
Yeah.
bishop at the end of it.
Yeah.
Actually, there's something else here as well.
What is
no,
white
sorry,
threatening?
no.
White's still threatening to come up here, isn't he?
Yeah.
So Colin, does the engine recommend
like
king
rook
h2?
Okay. I like rook d8 though. I think rook d8 is very strong. Let's get the engine on to prove what rubbish we're talking. So bishop c8 equals. Imagine. No,
You may not see that far ahead.
Knight g. No, it's gone plus knight g5, and rook d8 is not sufficient according to this.
Oh, it's like
But knight g8 5 is. I mean, how on earth does that work?
Do what?
Yeah, but he's following up with rook f4, isn't he? And he's now got another piece on f7.
Crumbs.
Rook d8.
That's not mentioned in the tactics books. So.
What? Oh, well.
I don't think any of us would have spotted that.
Yeah,
So
got
this is
knight
just
f7
winning,
here,
isn't
isn't
it?
he?
Oh, wow. Then you
Yeah,
got
queen h8 is rather awkward.
Ah, queen h8 is the threat. Yeah, good spot. So rook takes knight, check, king there. Is this still winning?
Yeah.
Oh, you just.
Oh, queen takes bishop and rook f7 is good enough, isn't it? Yeah. Wow. Okay. Yeah. Good spot, Paul. Good question. And we didn't get it. Rook d8 was insufficient, I'm afraid. So there we have it.
King h2 was the winning move, was it?
Yeah.
But well, the plan of moving up was. Yeah, he got the bishop c8 idea, isn't he? But it was too late. But it would have lost anyway, for assuming Nigel would have found knight g5, which I suspect he would have done.
What does the engine say about bishop c4 in the first place?
It likes it.
Really?
Yeah, it's the top move. It's only a little bit above the other moves, but it likes it.
All right, go back to this position. What does the engine say here?
What have you got?
Bishop c4.
What's the second strongest move?
Yeah, if you leave it a while,
strong, is it?
yeah, if you leave it a bit, the more you leave it, the more it likes it.
It's still not that strong.
No, okay, no, it's not a winning move. But it gives him more of an edge than the alternative.
Okay, so play it and leave the engine on, and where does black go wrong?
Oh, it doesn't like it now. I ran it earlier actually in the day, and okay.
Well,
right, okay.
Well, knight b6 and by no means forced, is it?
No, but well, amongst the best moves. I don't know. We could.
I'm just thinking when I'm often questioning.
Yeah, where did it go from being worse to lost?
Yeah.
How was it here? How come bishop? Why wasn't bishop h8 the best move? Can't believe that. Well, it wasn't a big fan of bishop h8 by the look of it. It looks like an accumulation of small errors, possibly.
Can't black play bishop a6 and hit the c pawn and then exchange queens?
It jumped up there.
Bishop a6 here for black.
First bishop, whatnot, plus 8. So why is rook a d1 so fantastic in this position? We all ask. Oh, because it's
well, bishop h6, a6.
Yeah, if you play that, then you've got rook a8.
Yes, you have.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what do you do? Play bishop back. I mean, presumably it must have been defensible for. Sorry.
No, it looks massive for white.
No, it's already massive for white. As soon as you did bishop a6, that was a mistake.
Yeah. Okay. But very hard position to defend. You know.
Yeah.
I think he kind of got ground out in some ways. He probably thought that although he's got no moves or no useful moves, almost black, he could just shuffle about and white couldn't do much. I imagine that was his, his defence.
He's got rook f4. No, he hasn't.
Yeah.
But it says it's equal now.
Oh,
Yeah, but I just don't think it's seen knight g5 yet.
Well.
Yeah.
Queen.
So.
Well, you think the computer doesn't see knight g5?
Well, not immediately, no. But if you put it on the board, it finds it. Yeah. I mean, if we go back, bishop c8. Oops.
Without witted him.
Yeah, now it's found it because it's in its cache, I guess.
What sort of computer is that?
No.
It looks like a good one, Komodo.
Yeah, it's one of the better ones.
Yeah, surprising if it misses it and then.
They do this sometimes.
Yeah, I know.
But it's only seconds, Martin.
Yeah.
It's seconds,
Yeah.
And
They're very materialistic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, moving swiftly on.
Yeah, good game. Good game. Good game.
Yeah, it is a great game. It deserves to be in the books, but I wish they'd show that earlier bit first. Okay, this is miles easier. Short's white. What's his quickest way of winning here? He can probably win by normal means with rook c7 and so on, but what's his quickest way of winning here?
e6.
e6. Okay, and if I take it, what do you do?
G5 check.
G5 check, forcing the king away. Doesn't matter whether it goes to G5 or H5. Pawn plus crashes through. So, yep, E6,
Yeah.
good spot.
I'm good.
Yeah, E6, and the pawn's just going to crash through, basically. Yeah, very good.
Yeah.
Next game, what's this? Okay, well, it's 10-2. This was going to be the last game I showed. Do we have time
That's
for it?
okay.
You sure? Okay. I've been lazy here. This is from Nigel Short's book, Winning, and I'm going to use his notes. So all complaints to Nigel, please. So here we go. His opponent is a Chinese man called Ye Yang-Chuan, who I think's pretty strong. So Nigel's white, and we have a Sicilian defence. And his comment to this is, I had gone down to Ye in a closed Sicilian at the World Cup in Shenyang 2000. Time for a more manly choice. His words, not mine. So e6, d4, pawn takes pawn, knight takes pawn, knight c6. He says, yeah, he had various Sicilian systems in his repertoire, but the time and off was always a firm possibility, with the implication, to me anyway, that Shorter prepared this line as white.
Have we still got Colin Line on? Because he's the expert on this.
Oh, he plays the time on off, does he? I think he's left us. c7, bishop e2, a6, castles, knight f6, and h1, bishop e7. And he says, steering out of a pure time iron off waters into the Shaveningham transposition. So still well within the realms of opening theory here. Knight, pawn takes knight, queen d3. Castles.
Knight c6 is a bit unusual.
I beg your pardon. He commented on it, Tony. Yeah, that's Nigel Shaw, had come across this idea in a game of Bent Larson's and had used it a couple of months earlier against Zoltan Ribley in a club game for Bosnia Sarajevo. In general, it is not such a great idea to allow black to capture towards the centre. However, with the tempo already having been forfeited by a7 to a6, and possibly a second when black plays d6 to d5, and the queen not being optimally placed on c7, such dogmatism no longer applies. So I think it's a pretty, a player of fairly high class who could make that kind of judgment in home preparation or anywhere else. Anyway, b takes c6, queen d3. And black castled. And he comments, Ribley, who has a heightened sense of danger, had avoided this committal decision against me. In my annotations in New in Chess, I criticise this move as casting into it, but as so often in chess, these general impressions are overturned by cold analytical scrutiny. And I wanted to show this game in part just to give you an idea of his annotations as well as the game itself. But I think it's a nice game too. b3, bishop b7, and he comments on alternatives at this move. But as we're short of time, I'll gloss over the opening theory side of it. Bishop b2.
I'm liking White's kingside attacking opportunities now with pawns.
Yes, and yes, and that does come into play. Sorry, I was just confused there.
I thought that was going to g3.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, it goes to h3, and he gives this a. I'm sorry, there's bishop b2. I do apologise, but this game is varying from what I've got in the book. So I'm going to go what's in the book and enter the game manually. So bishop b2, c5 was played. Have I given white 2 moves in a row? c5, so hitting the e pawn. So apologies for that confusion. I just took the game from the database and assumed it would be, maybe I picked the same one and they varied. I don't know. b3, bishop b7, bishop b2, c5, rook a e1, rook a e8. And he comments, this was roundly condemned by some grandmasters afterwards, annotating by result, but it is actually a perfectly logical move. At some point, black will probably play d6 to d5, and after e4 to e5, at knight d7, he will be primed for the f7 to f6 break. In the meantime, white is tied to the defense of his e pawn. Then he plays. So club players have a hard enough time wondering where to put their rook, so even grandmasters too, which is nice to know. So queen h3.
Gives up a pawn, gives up the e pawn.
So he says, or not, as in or not tied to defense of his e pawn. This was by far the most difficult move of the game because I had to judge whether the sacrifice was sound. sometimes you just have to trust your instincts when it is not possible to calculate everything to a conclusion. After checking a few sample variations, I took the plunge. And he also says Queen G3, which also gives up the e-pawn. But yeah, Queen G3 looks more normal, because if you move that knight, then you know, you obviously can't take the e-pawn, because if knight takes knight, bishop takes knight, queen takes pawn, mate. But he says it gives black a chance to execute his plan with d5, e5, knight d7, and he implies that black's perfectly fine here. So I guess he, yeah, I guess he may well be. Sicilian players probably better into that than I am. So queen h3, and black took the pawn. Bishop d3.
Yep, threatening mate on h7.
Yeah. So
d6.
We can go
d5.
back to f6.
yeah, he did go back to f6 in the game. So yeah, so things are starting with that pawn sacrifice. Obviously, things are starting to hot up a bit. So the knight's attacked. D5. What's wrong with f5? I wonder.
Well, the e6 pawn's very weak. You can take off.
Yeah, you could take twice, couldn't you? So if f5, he doesn't mention this move. I guess you can just take that, and as you say, take twice. Yeah, that's pretty ugly, isn't it? Are you a pawn up here?
No, we like that.
You've got
Queen h6.
doesn't quite work. You've got bishop f6. Doesn't quite work.
Queen takes rook.
Yes.
I think Steve suggested that instead of playing queen takes pawn, to play queen h6, but black has bishop f6.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Right.
Oh. Yep. Looks pretty good. Yeah, I think it is safe to take the pawn. Not sure whether it's better to take it with the rook or the queen, actually. But 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You're a pawn up, aren't you? White's a pawn up. So yeah, f5 doesn't work. That's why he didn't play it. So knight back. And now
knight d5.
I'm not sure if that works. Supposing I do this. And then g6. When I say I'm not sure it works, I don't mean it loses, but I'm not sure if it's a winning attempt.
Pawn down.
Yeah, and you're probably not you're not checkmating black, but good idea. And since you've mentioned it and it's been on the board, how did White prepare that idea? I'll turn it into a question.
Did he play f5 first?
He didn't know.
Right.
Do you play knight b5?
Knight. Sorry, Paul, which square?
d5.
We just looked at that?
b5.
Oh, b5, I beg your pardon. Okay, that's interesting.
Not sure what that does.
Well, I'll take it.
Bishop takes knight.
Yeah, this isn't as clear. G6 is forced again, isn't it?
Yeah. Bishop takes bishop. Bishop takes pawn.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 equal pawns.
Yeah, we've got a pass pawn on the a side. On the
Yeah.
a file.
It's got strong central pawns.
Draw, isn't it?
I don't know. That's an idea, isn't it?
But is bishop h7 any good earlier on?
I'm guessing, Paul, the assessment of that is about equal. But I wouldn't like to swear to that.
Okay, go back to the position, please.
Whereabout, remember that until the knight's taken, it's obviously defending h7, Martin.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure that White's got a window of opportunity for bishop h7.
Put the knight back on c3.
So knight c3, knight b5 is an interesting move, though, isn't it?
You can just play rook e3, can't you?
Rook e3 was played. Whoops.
Ah, okay.
I think. What's happened? Oh yeah, sorry, I don't have the position on the board, do I? So I keep on thinking it's rook e3. The point being, Julian, we'll talk through it. You're quite right.
Well, you can swing the rook over to g3, and you've got big, you know, extra piece in the attack.
Okay, let's be a bit more specific than that. White is now threatening, and I'll just play a silly move just to demonstrate it. Now knight d5. If it were White's move, he'll play knight d5. If bishop takes knight, we go through this line again. Pawn there. Now what does White play?
Queen h7.
Yeah. Check. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So very nice. Very nice. So I'm sure Short worked this all out before he sacked the pawn, by the way, on e4. So rook e3 sets up the move d5, knight d5, I beg your pardon. And he mentions it, and he mentions the threat in his notes. Okay, and Black played g6.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, I've still got that ridiculous a5 on the board. And apparently after the game, he preferred h6, rook g3, king h8. It's probably worth having a quick look at that, actually. So h6 defending against the threat, rook g3, crikey. Obviously queen h6 is a big threat. King h8.
Terrifying.
And he said that he rejected this because White could play rook takes pawn, king takes rook, queen g3 check, king h8, queen there, forcing a draw.
I didn't want to draw.
And he didn't want to draw. Yeah. So, but Short says White's got a much better. And he's got the rather surprising. So knight d5 doesn't appear to work now because we don't have any threats against.
Well, the g7 pawn is pinned on the diagonal as well, remember?
It is, it is. Well, Short. Yeah. And he said, well, wow, yeah, well, Short suggested, well, he suggests two moves. The first one is this, which he adorns with exclamation mark, question mark. I guess he just wants to open up the diagonal, and that's good. But he says the best move is f5, and he gets a very strong attack. Threatening, bishop c1, and he just says Black's king cannot be defended.
That's clever.
Yeah, so good luck seeing that in a game. Again, I think that's pretty good judgment. That enables you to see that. Anyway, g6 was played in the game. And he played knight d1, as advertised in the last note. Okay, so I'm just getting slightly aware of the time. The complications are just beginning. So Black played c4. Okay. What?
Queen h6.
c4.
Just a minute, wasn't it White to move?
White's move.
Let's just play knight d1.
No, just played knight d1.
Oh, I see, all right.
He makes the comment that knight e2 was slightly more accurate. It's, yeah, mentioned later. So he mentions that knight d7 is now not possible for a motif we've seen before, queen takes pawn check and rook h3, rook h8 mate. So c4. I think we're all wondering why on earth you'd play that.
Yeah.
B takes c4.
Yeah.
Why not? Queen c5. Okay, so he's planning to transfer the queen over to the defense of the king, which is why he gave up that pawn. So he was a pawn up already. So giving back a pawn and dubbing whites in the process probably didn't worry him too much.
Now F5 again.
Now F5, exactly.
Yeah.
So he breaks the communication to H5. So why not pawn takes pawn?
What's a rook P7?
E7, rook takes rook, and we have two pieces and a checkmaking it, and we're going to be playing queen H6 and checkmating black as well.
Yep.
Yeah, so the pawn pretty well can't be played. So pawn to E5.
Yep.
Blocking off the bishop. Rook G3, bishop E4. So the game's hotting up, obviously. Black's defending, I don't know, I'd have said that black was defending very well.
Yeah.
You know, I think you'd have to say all results were still possible.
Pawn takes pawn.
Pawn takes pawn, definitely.
I'm afraid not. Yeah, he says, played with great dexterity, referring to bishop e4. Ye has prevented immediate calamity, but the attack continues. And he brings in another piece. He plays knight e3. He doesn't even mention pawn takes pawn, but he does say that bishop c1 was more precise without giving any explanation as to why. So black, naturally enough, swapped off. Why not? And then played king h8, exclamation mark. So the point of this king h8 is after pawn takes pawn, rook takes pawn. What does black play?
Knight G4.
That's quite late.
Knight e4, well spotted, Julian. So
I
what's
said
the
knight
point?
E4. Oh, okay.
Oh, did you? I think you said knight e4. Knight e4, double exclamation mark, apparently. So why on earth does that work?
He's threatening rook takes.
Especially in queen takes queen. Oh no, he isn't.
I think you've also got the possibility. If you wind back and move, does black have queen e3?
Queen takes E6.
Oh yeah, queen takes E3 was possible.
Queen takes E3 wins.
Well, but white defends the back rank though, doesn't he?
Yeah, but there's a loose rook on G6.
Yeah.
So queen takes.
Queen takes.
That's it. Wins.
Check.
Rook takes.
Hello.
Queen takes queen.
Rook f1.
That's okay. That's okay.
Rook
Then we
takes.
take the rook.
Pawn takes
Pawn
rook.
up.
1, 2, 3, 4.
That's okay.
4, 5.
Well,
The white. Oh, that's not worked.
It's not that easy, though. Is it?
Yeah.
was there
So-
something slightly better?
Well, yeah, the notes he gives, if pawn takes knight, rook takes rook check. This looks incredibly complicated to me. Rook takes rook f8. So why don't we just play knight? I guess if knight d2, we play queen f2. And we're threatening back rank and we're threatening the knight. And that does look quite good for black, I think. And the line he gives instead of knight d2 is g4, stopping the back rank and defending the knight. Quite a remarkable move. Then queen takes c4. He's a piece down, but he's hitting everything, isn't he? He's hitting the knight, he's hitting the pawn. If knight g3, queen d3.
It's amazing. White's attack has just disappeared.
It has just disappeared.
Really gone.
He kind of cryptically comments that queen h6 is the only move to keep white in the game, because but it allows a perpetual check here.
Oh, yeah.
So Short's notes tend to be, what's the word? He's not giving billions of variations all the time, but which means like you do have to do a bit of work going through them, really. So anyway, he avoided that. It's a long shot. long and short of that. So king h8, bishop c1, while rook g8. He says, a blunder, but at this point, only the very clever, difficult tactical defences provide any hope at all. One such defence is queen c8. Okay, kind of pinning the pawn. Although he says that he gives a variation after knight g4, showing that black's prospects are bleak. So he's basically saying it's already very tough for black. So rook g8, pawn takes pawn, pawn takes pawn. Knight d5, knight takes knight, and what does white play now? Answers on a postcard.
Rook f7.
Rook f7. Hard to believe that's a bad move. Can I move the knight back?
Bishop g5.
That's a bit sneaky.
Queen e6.
Yeah. If you go back a couple of moves, I think queen h7 might work.
Sorry, what's wrong with bishop g5? But you're right, Julian.
h5.
Yeah, h5 probably gets out of it. The immediate threats anyway. So Julian did spot it. So instead of rook h7, queen takes pawn check.
Yeah.
Oh.
King takes.
King takes.
Rook h3. King g7. Bishop f8-6.
Yeah.
And then bishop f8, I think.
That'll do.
Bishop f8, mate. Very nice. That's how the game finished. So,
apart from bishop h4, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So, I mean, a tremendously complicated game as much as anything else. You know,
Yeah.
it's you know, it's what these guys do now. Both sides are in the game, outplaying each other in complicated positions. But yeah, spectacular finish. I think I've seen that motif before, but I can't remember that.
I think it has cropped up in another game that we looked at recently.
Okay, quite possibly. Well, that was pretty much what I had.
Very, very good, Colin.
Yeah,
Very
well
much.
done.
And we're way over time, so thank you again.
Yeah. Well done.
Yeah. No,
Thank you,
brilliant.
Colin.
Yeah, cheers. Yeah, thanks for putting up with it.
No. Thank you very much.
Thanks,
And
Colin.